A few months after his departure from the White House, former President Donald Trump is said to have engaged in discussions about potentially sensitive details concerning U.S. nuclear submarines. Rumors are flooding in that the fleet has been placed on high alert. His confidant in this situation was an Australian billionaire who happened to be a member of his Mar-a-Lago club. It is alleged that this Australian billionaire subsequently shared the discussed information with a multitude of individuals. This included over a dozen foreign officials, several of his own employees, and even a handful of journalists. These claims come from sources who are well acquainted with the situation. The potential revelation of classified information involving former President Donald Trump has surfaced in connection with an ongoing investigation conducted by Special Counsel Jack Smith's team. Their inquiry focuses on Trump's alleged possession of classified documents while at his Mar-a-Lago property. The emergence of this information could provide additional insight into how Trump handled sensitive government secrets. During their investigation, prosecutors and FBI agents have conducted interviews with Anthony Pratt, a member of Mar-a-Lago and the head of Pratt Industries, a prominent global packaging company based in the United States. Pratt's company, Pratt Industries, ranks among the world's largest packaging firms. On at least 2 occasions this year, these law enforcement officials interviewed Pratt regarding his interactions with Trump. During these interviews, Pratt recounted an incident from April 2021 when he sought to engage Trump in conversation during a meeting at Mar-a-Lago. During this meeting, Pratt proposed the subject of the American submarine fleet, which he and Trump had discussed previously. Pratt's story, as communicated by insider sources, revealed that he suggested Australia should consider procuring submarines from the United States. In response, an animated Trump reportedly leaned in closer to Pratt, seemingly to maintain caution, and shared 2 pieces of purportedly sensitive information concerning U.S. submarines. First, Trump revealed what he claimed to be the precise number of nuclear warheads typically carried by these submarines. Second, he allegedly revealed the specific distance at which these submarines could supposedly approach a Russian submarine without being detected. The consequences of this revelation are substantial, as they raise questions about the security and confidentiality of classified information within the highest echelons of the U.S. government. The ongoing investigation seeks to uncover the full extent of these confessions and their potential consequences. After meeting with former President Donald Trump, Anthony Pratt engaged in a flurry of emails and conversations, sharing Trump's comments with a wide array of individuals. This group included at least 45 people, including 6 journalists, 11 employees from Pratt's company, 10 Australian officials, and even 3 former Australian prime ministers, according to sources familiar with the situation, as reported by ABC News. Pratt, in his discussions with investigators, mentioned that he couldn't definitively determine whether Trump's statements about U.S. submarines were grounded in truth or simply brash conversation. Despite this uncertainty, investigators urged Pratt to refrain from repeating the specific numerical details that Trump revealed. Their concern lay in the sensitivity of this information, deeming it too risky to broadcast further, as per ABC News sources. The accuracy of the information remains ambiguous. Nevertheless, Special Counsel Jack Smith's team scrutinized this episode. Additional testimony emerged from a former Mar-a-Lago employee who disclosed that within moments of Pratt's meeting with Trump, he overheard Pratt relaying some of Trump's remarks to another individual. As per insider sources, this ex-employee expressed deep worry and astonishment at learning that the former president had shared such sensitive details with a non-US citizen. Pratt, during his interactions with investigators, expressed that Trump had not presented him with any government documents during their April 2021 encounter, nor on any other occasion when they crossed paths at Mar-a-Lago, as per the same sources. Pratt maintained that he shared his meeting details with others to showcase his advocacy for Australia within the United States. Some of the Australian officials he allegedly informed were reportedly involved in ongoing negotiations with the Biden administration at the time, concerning a deal for Australia to acquire several nuclear-powered attack submarines from the United States. The deal was successfully concluded earlier this year, with Australia committing to the purchase of at least 3 Virginia-class nuclear-powered submarines. President Joe Biden, however, clarified that none of the submarines sold to Australia would be equipped with nuclear weaponry. The information regarding Trump's conversation with Pratt in April 2021 was not incorporated into Special Counsel Smith's June indictment against Trump. The indictment instead cantered on Trump's alleged unlawful retention of national defense information and associated obstruction charges, totaling 40 counts. Focusing on this deal with Australia, on August 4, 2023, the USS North Carolina, SSN 777, made a significant and historic arrival at the HMAS Sterling, a naval base located in Western Australia. This marked the first visit of a Virginia-class submarine to the country since the announcement of the Australia, United Kingdom, and United States AUKUS optimal pathway by the leaders of these nations. The AUKUS partnership, initially introduced in September 2021, represents a concentrated effort to strengthen the security and defense capabilities of these 3 nations while also actively promoting security within the Indo-Pacific region. Mr. Abe Denmark, senior advisor for AUKUS to the Secretary of Defense, emphasized the significance of the USS North Carolina's presence in HMAS Sterling, highlighting the firm commitment of the United States to the AUKUS partnership. This commitment was demonstrated through the promised increase in SSN port visits to Australia in 2023. These port visits hold great importance as they play a crucial role in Australia's journey to encourage the operational capabilities and expertise necessary for the stewardship and operation of their own fleet of nuclear-powered attack submarines. The AUKUS optimal pathway itself is an accurately designed, phased approach aimed at providing Australia with a conventionally armed, nuclear-powered submarine capability as expeditiously as possible. Simultaneously, it ensures that Australia possesses the requisite competence to safely operate, maintain, and regulate this advanced technology, adhering to the highest standards for nuclear non-proliferation. The first phase of the optimal pathway is dedicated to expanding Australia's familiarity with SSNs. This is achieved through an increase in SSN port visits, thereby laying the foundation for the establishment of Submarine Rotational Force West, SRFW, by as early as 2027. SRFW, once established, will maintain a rotational presence of up to 4 Virginia-class submarines from the United States and 1 United Kingdom Astute-class submarine at HMAS Sterling. The second phase, set to commence in the early 2030s, contingent upon approval from the US Congress, entails the sale of 3 Virginia-class submarines to Australia. The agreement also allows for the potential sale of up to 2 more submarines if the need arises. Phase 3 represents the amalgamation of a British submarine design with cutting-edge United States technology. This union will give rise to SSN AUKUS, the forthcoming attack submarine designated for use by both Australia and the United Kingdom. Australia's plan is to produce the first Australian-built SSN AUKUS in the early 2040 S-Rear ADM. Chris Kavanagh, commander of Submarine Group, CSG-7, stressed the historical interaction and seamless collaboration that has characterized the long-standing security cooperation among Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. He specifically acknowledged the ability to work harmoniously in the realm of undersea warfare training and operations. ESG-7 plays a pivotal role by overseeing forward-deployed, combat-ready forces engaged in a comprehensive variety of undersea warfare activities across the Western Pacific, Indian Ocean, and Arabian Sea. The U.S. 7th Fleet, considered the largest forward-deployed numbered fleet in the U.S. Navy, consistently engages with allies and partners in the shared attempt to safeguard a free and open Indo-Pacific region. This visit by the USS North Carolina serves as tangible evidence to the strengthening ties among these nations and the commitment to bolstering regional security and stability. A brief history of these nuclear submarines is useful. In the records of naval history, a groundbreaking moment occurred in 1954 when the United States Navy embarked on a revolutionary journey, unveiling the USS Nautilus as the first-ever submarine to harness the potent energy of radioactive materials. This cutting-edge vessel would soon etch its name into the history books, achieving the extraordinary feat of traveling to the mysterious North Pole in 1958. Before this moment, submarines had been reliant on conventional diesel engines, forcing them to periodically dock for refueling. However, the arrival of nuclear power ushered in a new era, granting submarines with the remarkable capability to prowl beneath the ocean's surface for up to 2 decades without the need for refueling. This shift meant that food supplies were now the only limiting factor on a nuclear submarine's endurance at sea. Building upon this pioneering technology, the realm of naval engineering birthed a new breed of military might: nuclear-powered aircraft carriers. These colossal vessels derived their immense power from onboard nuclear reactors, functioning on the principle of nuclear fission. Within the reactor's confines, atomic nuclei split, liberating energy in the form of intense heat. This scorching heat is subsequently channeled to generate high-pressure steam. This steam, in turn, propels turbines dedicated to driving the ship's massive propellers. Simultaneously, additional turbines come into play, generating electricity to power various shipboard systems and equipment. Safety is paramount in this nuclear-powered world. The nuclear reactor compartment, housing this formidable energy source, is rigorously protected to safeguard the crew from potentially hazardous radiation. During reactor operation, access is strictly off-limits to personnel. Engineers responsible for the reactors don radiation monitors, subject to regular inspections, and precisely adhere to strict safety protocols. They work in shifts and devise plans to minimize radiation exposure, ensuring the well-being of all aboard. When the day arrives for the decommissioning and disposal of these nuclear reactors, the Department of Defense takes this responsibility. These radioactive remains are maintained and monitored. When it's time to bid farewell to the nuclear hearts of submarines and aircraft carriers, their compartments are transported to the final disposal site aboard specially designated barges. To safeguard this precious cargo, the Coast Guard or the Navy deploys an escort vessel, guaranteeing the security of the barge throughout its journey. Periodic inspections are conducted to ensure utmost compliance with Department of Transportation (DOT) regulations, which dictate that radiation levels must not surpass prescribed limits. These stringent limits serve as vital safeguards, protecting workers, the public, and the environment from potential hazards during shipping and reactor component management. The Department of Energy (DOE) plays a vital role in the disposal process, overseeing the elimination of specific contaminated reactor components from nuclear vessels. These tainted remains find their resting place at the Hanford facility in Washington state, where they are carefully stored within specially designed waste storage cells. In this manner, the nation's guardians of the deep and the vast seas above ensure that their technology not only empowers their mission, but also protects those who brave the unknown frontiers. But what about the rest of the world? Focusing on China, there have been announcements about new submarine hunting technologies that have garnered attention, but they primarily appear to be more of a verbal flourish than substantial hardware deployments. Nevertheless, these statements underscore Beijing's determination to counter the perceived threat posed by US attack submarines, which remain vital to American military strategies. The US submarine force, announced as the finest in the world, cannot afford to rest on its laurels for much longer. The evolving landscape necessitates new strategies and capabilities for operations in the waters that China and Russia assert as their home turf. China's quest to bolster its anti-submarine warfare capabilities has been ongoing for over a decade. At present, the United States employs advanced sonar arrays, such as the Cold War-era Sound Surveillance System network, to monitor the East and South China Seas, as well as the routes U.S. submarines would traverse when traveling from Guam or Hawaii. Complementing this infrastructure are highly effective low-frequency active sonars installed on vessels like the Type 056 Jiangdao-class corvette, which can offset the superior sound silencing capabilities of U.S. submarines. In areas considered the most fortified, like the Taiwan Strait, Chinese forces are likely to deploy underwater mines, further complicating the operational environment. In the Cold War era, U.S. submarines heavily relied on their stealth capabilities to study opponents and pose a threat that compelled opponents to focus on defense rather than anti-submarine warfare. However, in the case of potential conflicts with China and possibly Russia, this dynamic no longer holds. U.S. submarines may find themselves needing to launch missiles or torpedoes near enemy coastlines. In such scenarios, opponents can devote their resources to counterattacks while their primary targets remain occupied with defensive measures. This might render U.S. submarines incapable of contributing further to the conflict after their initial salvos. To prevent being sidelined, like the fate of numerous German U-boats towards the end of World War II, U.S. submarines must excel at suppressing the sensors, upon which China and Russia depend for undersea detection and targeting. Their challenge resembles that of aviators facing modern air defenses, where jamming, decoys, deception, and destruction are imperative to infiltrate contested areas underwater. Like their aerial counterparts, U.S. submarine forces must employ a combination of these tactics while retaining their strike capacity. Uncrewed vehicles, such as autonomous submarines, offer a promising solution for deploying acoustic jammers, radar and sonar decoys, and explosive warheads to suppress or defeat underwater sensors and mines. Nevertheless, to preserve the submarine's weaponry and minimize their chances of detection, most of these vehicles should be launched by external platforms. Effectively confusing or attacking enemy sensors hinges on accurate targeting, which, given the challenges of undersea sensing and communication, is a nearly impossible obstacle in real-time scenarios. Hence, U.S. undersea forces must conduct proactive reconnaissance of adversary sensors and networks. Large autonomous undersea vehicles, such as the Navy's now cancelled Snakehead or commercially available Remus 6000, are suitable for gathering this intelligence, a task that may prove impractical for smaller uncrewed underwater vehicles, UUVs, due to their limited endurance and depth capabilities. Medium and small UUVs launched from land-based facilities, aircraft, or inconspicuous vessels are well suited for jamming and deception missions. In this role, they can carry decoy systems like those found on the Navy's expendable mobile anti-submarine warfare training target, which mimic submarine acoustic signatures to divert attention from actual U.S. undersea operations. Additionally, to obscure both genuine and simulated submarine activities, these UUVs can deploy noisemakers, like those used for active torpedo countermeasures. The subsequent confusion in the opponent's underwater domain, caused by the combined effects of decoys, jamming, and real U.S. submarine operations, is expected to overwhelm the still relatively limited anti-submarine warfare capabilities of Russia or China. However, to face enemy attacks head-on, U.S. submarines must possess improved combat systems capable of predicting the effectiveness of adversary strikes and guiding new counter-torpedo weapons. Much like the Aegis system and surface-to-air missiles do for surface combatants, these advanced systems will be essential for countering enemy torpedoes effectively. Once U.S. submarines reach the most challenged areas, where they are required to launch missile attacks deep into enemy territory or stop invasions by hostile ships into Allied territories, they are likely to encounter the threat of undersea mines. It is in these scenarios that medium UUVs, which can be launched from and recovered by submarines, will prove essential in identifying safe routes around mines, or, if necessary, in eliminating them. The shift in operational concepts outlined above is substantial. Instead of relying on stealth and silence, the U.S. undersea force will need to generate noise and operate within the resulting disharmony. They will need to collaborate with a diverse team of crewed and uncrewed platforms, both above and below the water, to reach their objectives. The days of being the silent service are evolving into a future where adaptability, innovation, and a multi-layered approach to undersea operations will be the keys to success. To secure their place as the world's leading submarine force, the United States must embrace these changes and ensure that its undersea capabilities remain at the forefront of military innovation, now looking at Iran and the Middle East involvement with US subs. In April 2023, the United States made a decisive move that sent ripples across the volatile landscape of US-Iran relations. A nuclear-powered submarine armed to the teeth with the capacity to carry up to 154 Tomahawk missiles was deployed to the Middle East. The announcement of this submarine's deployment, viewed by many as a prominent display of strength, was made by Commander Timothy Hawkins, the spokesperson for the Fifth Fleet. Commander Hawkins, however, remained tight-lipped about the submarine's specific mission and the catalyst behind its dispatch. He succinctly stated that the submarine was capable of carrying up to 154 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles and had been deployed to the US Fifth Fleet to bolster regional maritime security and stability. The US Fifth Fleet, headquartered in Bahrain, plays a crucial role in patrolling the Strait of Hormuz, a strategic choke point where 20% of the world's oil supply transits. The deployment of this formidable submarine came on the heels of allegations made by the US, the UK, and Israel, asserting that Iran had engaged in the targeting of oil tankers and commercial vessels. Former British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab clearly described the attack on the Mercer Street oil tanker as unlawful and callous. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken joined the chorus of criticism, affirming that there was no justification for this attack, which he viewed as part of a broader pattern of attacks and aggressive behavior. It's worth noting that this submarine deployment followed a series of tense encounters between the American Navy and Iranian forces, further exacerbating the simmering tensions in the region. Additionally, the United States had initiated airstrikes in the prior month against Iran-backed troops in Syria. This action was taken in response to a rocket attack that claimed the life of an American contractor and injured 7 others. The Tomahawk cruise missile, the submarine's formidable deployment, possesses the capability to reach targets at distances of up to 1,500 miles when launched from ships or submarines. This precision weapon famously played a pivotal role during the early stages of the invasion of Iraq in 2003. The context of American-Iranian relations, marred by a series of developments over the years, further fueled the significance of this submarine deployment. Former President Donald Trump's tenure witnessed a marked deterioration in relations. Trump's decision to withdraw from the 2015 nuclear agreement, which offered sanctions relief in exchange for Iran's commitment to reduce its nuclear activities, served as a flashpoint in a long-standing and complex diplomatic saga. The ensuing fallout created a backdrop against which this recent military maneuver assumed even greater significance. In a region where geopolitics often teeter on a razor's edge, the presence of this nuclear-powered submarine serves as both a potent symbol of deterrence and a reminder of the intricate and precarious diplomatic dynamics in play. As the submarine patrols the waters, its capabilities and readiness send a clear message about the United States' commitment to safeguard its interests and those of its allies in the Middle East. Looking more widely at the Middle East, just days ago, warships were sent from the US to Israel. The United States has executed a highly visible response in the waters surrounding Israel, deploying a formidable array of warships that are either stationed in or en route to the eastern Mediterranean and the Red Sea. This show of force is a resolute answer to the recent attack in the region. The USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group was promptly dispatched to the eastern Mediterranean mere hours after the attack took place. The Pentagon has taken the extraordinary step of extending the ship's 6-month deployment in the region, with no specified end date. To further reinforce this response, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin recently issued orders for the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group to join the USS Gerald R. Ford in the eastern Mediterranean. These ships are now en route, sailing across the Atlantic Ocean. In another significant move, the Pentagon has dispatched the USS Bataan Amphibious Ready Group to the region. This group consists of 3 vessels carrying thousands of Marines from the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit. The USS Mesa Verde, a transport dock, is currently positioned in the Mediterranean Sea. Meanwhile, the USS Bataan, an assault ship, and the USS Carter Hall, a dock landing ship, were previously located in the Gulf region but are now en route to the Red Sea. These vessels are equipped with helicopters and assault craft that serve various purposes, including the insertion of Marines into hostile territory and the provision of medical care and other forms of assistance. Historically, these warships, particularly the aircraft carriers featuring fighter jets and surveillance aircraft, have proven to be potent deterrents against Iranian and other militant activities in the Middle East. The carriers function as command and control centers and are capable of conducting information warfare. They are equipped with F-18 fighter jets, which can undertake deterrence missions and conduct precision strikes when necessary. Additionally, they house E-2 Hawkeye surveillance planes, which play a crucial role in providing early warnings regarding missile launches and detecting enemy movements. This robust U.S. naval presence serves as a strategic response to the evolving security dynamics in the region and reinforces the United States' commitment to safeguarding its interests and those of its allies in a volatile and critical part of the world. Bearing this in mind, we must consider the potential of nuclear submarines being considered by the U.S. for deployment in Israel. We must not underestimate the power of these nuclear submarines, whether they are protecting a nation or posing a national threat. Either way, news of such a dynamic fleet as the U.S. Navy being placed on high alert will have serious implications. We can only wait and see how the situation unfolds. It is clear that the majority are just hoping for a swift resolution and for peace to bring stabilization to the region. However, whether this is likely to happen is still up for debate. With a war that's been raging on and off for generations, can a resolution be found?